Hello again, it is Wednesday with the Whittemore Group. I'm Tim.
And I'm Stephanie.
And today what we're going to talk about is if you're looking to purchase in Florida and you've never actually purchased a home here, what some differences that you need to be aware of. All right, so we're just going to jump right in here. For number one is your roofs. Roofs here need to be built to a certain standard to ensure that it can withstand the weather that we have here, which are hurricanes. So you want to make sure that it is built up to that standard. Ensure that it's got at least 3 to 5 years left on it prior to purchasing it, and make sure it's got hurricane clips on that. If you don't know what you're looking for, ensure that you get a wind mitigation inspection to ensure that it is built correctly and it's got all the stuff that it needs to so it doesn't blow off.
Right, and now termites. Now we live in Florida, so termites are a thing. Yeah. So you want to ensure that you get a WDO, which are wood destroying organisms, inspection prior to purchasing your home to ensure that there are no current or past infestation or damage.
Yeah, that can be a pretty bad thing. We've seen that before where we've got that inspection and the whole front side of the house is just filled with active termites, like you could see moving around. That whole house is about to cave in on itself.
Yeah.
Not good. All right, let's talk about flood zones. So living here on the beautiful Emerald Coast, it is awesome, but there are some hazards that are involved in that. What you'll need to ensure is that the house that you're purchasing isn't in a flood zone that isn't insurable. Now, you can check your FEMA maps. You can check that out online to see which area that you're in. Also know that there are some areas that aren't insurable at all, which are what they call COBRA zones, which doesn't actually have an O in it. It's CBRA zone. Like, that confused me the first time I heard it. But those zones will always flood, so it'll be hard for you to get that, if not impossible, to insure that. Some places are grandfathered in, but you can get private insurance, flood insurance for that, but it's going to be outrageous.
Right. And speaking of flooding, some areas are more prone to flooding than others, even if it's not in a flood zone. So you want to be sure to drive by the neighborhood after a good flood, or not flood, but after a good rain, just to see what it looks like in that general area.
Yeah, you might need a boat or a kayak to get to your house. You may want to check that out before getting there. All right, so you're moving to Florida. Here's another thing. It can get really, really hot here, like uncomfortably hot. So make sure that your HVAC or your AC is actually working. Up north, people may run in the winter to get out of the cold. Here, we run to get out of the heat. So make sure that you do have an operational HVAC unit, and make sure also that the heat works. It does get cold here in Florida, so you might be walking around with a parka on when it's 50 degrees.
Right. That's what I would do, definitely. I don't like the cold. Now, we also want to talk about cracks. So here in Florida, almost everything is built on sand. With that in mind, you may see some minor cracks in your driveway, which is normal, and maybe around the house. So if severe enough and the crack goes from the floor all the way to the ceiling, you might have foundation issues. So just ensure to get a good inspection on the house prior to purchasing.
When you walk through, we see a lot of people like, hey, the driveway's cracked. That's very common, especially if it's concrete. Mm-hmm. One thing to really pay attention to is in the house. If you start to see it in the drywall or something like that, that's something to be concerned about, to get somebody else professionally to check that out.
Right.
All right, we also talk about windows here. Now, some of the older homes may have single pane, even double pane, older windows. Anytime that it is upgraded, that they usually have to have the hurricane impact windows that are installed on that. Good thing about that is that you don't have to have these hurricane shutters or anything else on top of those. Now, you can if you want to, but that's the whole thing, is for hurricane impact, right? Another thing to check out prior to purchasing is to make sure that it does have hurricane shutters or plywood that fits on top of the window so your place doesn't get destroyed during a hurricane, unless it takes its roof off.
Right, don't want that. Another thing we do want to talk about is that there aren't any basements here. So any basement would probably turn into a swamp. Yeah. So you don't anticipate that you're going to see one here in Florida.
We actually did see one time, and I just peered down there. I was like, what is this? And there was a good, maybe 6 inches of standing water down there. Found that in Fort Walton, but it's pretty crazy. Anyway, those are some things to definitely take a look at. If you do like this information, make sure to like our stuff here. If you know somebody else that could really use this, make sure to like and share that with them. And again, this is Tim with the Whittemore Group.
And I'm Stephanie.
And we'll see you next time.
Have a great day.
Take care.